It's been nearly 2 weeks since floodwaters began rising in the area, and community leaders are still learning from the experience.
For a few key people, this was the first natural disaster they're overseeing in office. As the area recovers from historic waters, KELOLAND's Brady Mallory sits down with a new mayor and new emergency manager to learn how this flood will prepare them for the next disaster.
Jason Gearman is getting an education again. He's not going back to class because his lessons are putting him at the forefront of disaster.
There's always something to learn every day, and that's kind of why I took this job.
If Gearman looks familiar, you probably recognize him from his 25 years with the Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office. After retiring, he took over the role as Minnehaha County Emergency Manager just last month. This is the time he thought he'd use to ease into his new role. He was wrong.
It's been a learning experience and interesting, but we hope we never have to do it again, but you know it's going to happen. It's just when.
It's not his first time handling a flood. Gearman says when he worked with the sheriff's office, his efforts were more response-based.
Respond to people helping you that need help, and maybe a rescue or assistance that way.
As county emergency manager, he had to take a more proactive approach and coordinate help for the entire county.
Well, this is more of the planning, and you're more of the in the operations center, making sure that the resources are getting to where they need and the people are getting the sandbags. Do we have funding? Where does the funding come from? Are we documenting things correctly?
Gearman says he wasn't too nervous about being in a new role because he already knows all of the people in the Emergency Operations Center, and he knows they've seen disaster many times.
I'll compliment the mayor of Sioux Falls on this. When he would come into the Operations Center, it was stress-free. He wasn't yelling and screaming at people, and it really helped us just do our job, and people trusted that we were doing our job the correct way.
What I found myself doing is leaning real heavily on the people who have been there.
Not quite in office for a full year yet, Mayor Paul Tenhaken says his demeanor was intentional.
Surround yourself with good people who have been there and walked the trenches, been part of the ice storm and other things. They didn't need a new mayor to come in and tell them and direct them on how to do things. I really let them kind of operate as efficiently as they could.
Tenhaken says he tried to balance listening with leadership in his new role. He admits it was a bit daunting when someone pulled him out of a meeting to tell him the news about the rising waters.
Based on these hydrology reports, we could be looking at historic flooding levels in the next week in our city. And that was a big, deep breath moment and say, okay, Paul, here you go. This is going to be baptism by fire.
Current community leaders credit their predecessors for beefing up Sioux Falls' levee system and say that helped keep the floods from getting worse. That past effort is helping Tenhaken look ahead.
So I think it puts a little bit of added pressure on me to say, okay, what are those things that I need to be looking at for 10, 20 years down the road that we aren't even thinking of now, and preparing our infrastructure for that.
As this flood continues to dry up for this part of KELOLAND, Gearman says the most valuable lesson he's learned is what he'll do the next time.
You learn from your mistakes, and you don't ever want to make that same mistake twice. So, again, experience counts in this. I think I gained about 10 years of experience in the matter of a few weeks here.
With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Brady Mallory.
Gearman says area leaders are still assessing the damage from the flood. If you need help recovering, you can call the helpline at 211.